and they would want to sign me, but they were like, your hips are too wide. Can you bring them down? Oh,
bring them down. Sorry, okay.
Oh, you're eating pounded jam. How can I bring it down? And I remember like trying to hold back tears and actively thinking in my head, I was like, does she not love us anymore? Like, why is she going to straighten our hair? Like, oh, she was like, you've got quite a lot of hair. She was like, black girls don't usually have much hair, do they? Like, another black girls don't.
My face tells a story, pure simple beauty. Queen, say it with me.
Hey beautiful, welcome back to the Kiya Convos podcast. I'm your host, Amoah, and this is a space for all things self-care, wellness, and empowerment. Today, I'm so excited to have the absolutely stunning Tosin. Hey.
Hi.
Welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you on. So looking forward to this conversation. We just started getting into it prematurely.
I was like, let's save it.
Yeah, I know. So, I like to always kick off just allowing you to introduce yourself, let us know a bit about you prior to the boss model that you are today. Let us know a bit about who you are.
Firstly, thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
It means a lot, and it's nice to know that there's, someone that's like looking at you and interested and wants to know more about you. So thank you. I really appreciate that. I really hate this question. People are like, can you tell me a bit about yourself? I'm like, who am I?
Who am I?
Who even am I? I don't know. But I'll start with like the basics, I guess. So I'm 30 years old.
Okay.
I'm a model. I have a son. I have a fiance.
Oh, wow.
And my life right now is it's weird because it's like, maybe last year, like this time last year, I would have been like, my life is just modeling and stuff. But I feel like there's been a real shift in like my mindset and like who I am and like my purpose and my journey. So for now, I am a model.
Yeah.
And I'm loving it. I have a swimwear brand as well.
Oh, okay. I don't think I knew that actually.
Oh, get into it. Yeah, no, but I do. I have a swimwear brand. I started it, well, to be honest, it's been in the works for some years now.
Okay.
But I did like a bit of a soft launch last year.
Okay.
And I'm hoping because I've got so many ideas, so many designs, so much product that I really want to put out there. And I'm hoping that, I can really do that this year.
Okay.
So that's kind of what I'm kind of working on right now. I don't know if there's anything else about me that I can think about.
No, I love it. So how old is your son?
He's 8 now.
Oh wow,
it's mad. I know. I had him when I was 22.
Okay.
And it was basically like a teenage pregnancy. That's what it felt like. I was 22, but I felt like.
Yeah, I had my first when I was 21, so I know exactly. Yeah.
You understand.
Yeah.
So I was a young mommy. But young parents. He's 8. But he's amazing.
Oh, I love that.
I always say that at the time, I'm Nigerian, right? So at the time, like telling my parents was so scary. I was like, they're going to kill me. But it was the complete opposite of that. Obviously, I'd finished uni. I was out of uni. I'd finished.
I mean, as long as you're finished uni, I'm sure it's like, oh, okay.
It can't be to me, I've done what I needed to do. I was working. And so, they were really receptive to it. And they were actually kind of excited about it. Which is weird, but, but we thank God for them and for my fiance's parents. Like they were just amazing.
Yeah.
And I always say that having him, actually, I felt like it opened like my life to more blessings.
Okay.
Like I just don't know if I would have had the opportunities and the joy and all the blessings that came with him being there. It's like doors just started to open, and I just feel like that was him. That was thanks to him. Yeah.
That's so sweet. I love that. Okay, so what did you study in uni?
I did English literature and creative writing.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
So at that point, what was your plan for were you already modelling then, or?
No, well, so it's a long story. So basically, before that, I initially didn't want to do English literature and creative writing. What I wanted to do was, I wanted to do a few things. I think it started out at law.
Oh wow, okay.
I wanted to do law, and then I remember speaking to my mum about it, and she was a bit like, are you sure? You know, because science was more like my thing. Like I was good at, like, obviously English was probably my top subject, and but science I was more interested in, and I was good at science. So my mum was kind of like, you know, typical Nigerian parents, like, you know, doctor, biomedical scientist, do this and do that. And I was a bit like, okay. So then when it came to writing, you know, when you write your personal statement, I don't know if they even still do that now, but in my time,
in our time,
we had to write personal statement. So I remember doing the personal statement to study biomedical sciences. And one of the questions they ask you is, why do you want to study this? And I remember being like,
I don't know.
No, I want to study this. I just feel like I guess I should, you know. And then I just did a complete pivot. I was just like, I don't actually want to do this. I want to do something I'm interested in, and I love to write. So I did English literature and creative writing. But prior to that, so when I think I was about 14 or 15 when I was first approached by a modelling agency.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it actually started then, but I absolutely hated it.
Oh, really? What was it that you hated?
Well, first, because I was a minor, you have to have like a chaperone. So even for test shoots, you have to have an adult chaperone that's there with you just to make sure that you're safe and everything's okay.
Yeah.
But it was just I don't know, the industry's definitely changed from that time to now. But I just didn't enjoy it. It felt a really high pressured environment. You've got like one person doing your hair, one person doing your makeup, one person's pulling your arm this way. I wasn't 100% comfortable with like the clothes and stuff that I was being put in. Like maybe for headshot, they'd be like, are you okay in just like a bandeau? And I was kind of like, not really, but you know, it was stuff like that made me feel a bit like just not comfortable.
Did you feel like you couldn't say no?
Kind of, because obviously you're young, isn't it? And I'm used to just kind of following instructions. You just go to school, you go home to your parents, everywhere you're following instructions. Yeah. So when you're put in that kind of environment that's like alien to you, you're just kind of like, okay. Yeah. And it's not like anything weird happened, nothing like that. But it's just something I wasn't used to. Yeah. And I was in school, so they'd want you to come and do castings and stuff and come into London. And I was living in Essex by that time. Okay, yeah. So it's just like, who's like leaving school to jump on a train to come into London and do castings? It just was not, it wasn't the thing. So I had an agency for a while in college. And then I left them in my second year of college. Okay. And then modelling, I didn't really touch again professionally until I had my son. Oh, okay. And I feel like that's a story. So how did you come back around to modelling? So in between that time, I had like little things here and there, but it was all like kind of freelance stuff. Okay. Oh gosh, those are the days, because I'd remember like maybe someone would want to do like a test shoot or do this and do that. And I was in uni then, and it was my now fiance then. I'd be like, oh, I need to go into London and they want to do this like test shoot and this. And he'd be like, okay, here's £20, get the train, stuff like this. Like that was literally what we were doing. Yeah. And then when I finished uni, I think it was the year, it was 2015. Okay. 2015. And I was actually pregnant with my son at the time. Okay. And I think at the time I was just going to go and see agencies. And the first one I saw, which was IMM, they're still around and they're amazing. Shout out IMM. They signed me. They were like, yeah, we love you. And I was just like, swear down, okay. Because in between that time, I'd seen agencies and they would want to sign me, but they were like, your hips are too wide. Can you bring them down? Oh,
bring them down. Sorry, okay. How do we bring down the hips?
I don't know. You're eating pounded jam again. How can I bring it down? There's food, there's all of these things. I don't know how. But it was, that in itself is a story, because even within that time, whilst I was at uni, there was a lady, the first lady that scouted me when I was 14, she scouted me again twice, not even knowing it was me, like years later. Oh, wow. Yeah, so she scouted me. I think I was in Birmingham with my friends, and she scouted me. She just looked at me, she was like, Tosin. And I was like, looked at her and I was like, oh, Leah, this is the lady that scouted me. I think that was the third time she scouted me. The second time she scouted me, she didn't even know it was me. Oh, wow. Yeah, she didn't know it was me.
So she just really liked your look.
Really liked me. Yeah. The third time she was like, oh my gosh, Tosin, again. She was like, you need to like do this modelling, take it seriously. I think I was 18 at that time. Okay. And then I think I came back to London at some point during the holidays, went to see that agency. I think she was at she may have been at Storm or Elite. I think it was Elite at the time.
Okay.
So I went to see Elite. They loved me, but they were like, your hips, like, do you think if you can bring it down? I don't remember what I was at the time, but they wanted me to bring it down to like, say 6 inches, something like that. I don't remember, but it was quite a bit compared to what I was.
Okay.
I wasn't big, but I was quite slim, I would say, but they wanted me to bring it down by a couple of inches, I think within like 2 or 3 weeks. And I was just like,
how?
I'm not going to do that. I was like, I can't do that. Like, it's just not going to happen. So I just remember going back to uni and I was like, okay, well, that is that then. But yeah, fast forward now, I'm in London. I finished uni, I've graduated, I've started my graduate job. We're now in 2016. Yeah, 2016. And at this time, I'm now pregnant with my son. But this was like early days. I'm not sure I actually even knew then.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it was really early days. I went to go and see them. They signed me. I was like, oh my gosh, amazing.
I'm signed.
And then found out I was pregnant. And I was just like, oh. And I think after I signed with them, it must have been a month or so. They called me. I was in the office and they were like, this client, really big client, amazing job. They want to shoot you in Iceland. It's going to be for a swimwear campaign. It's going to be in this magazine and that magazine. And they really want you. And I remember the panic that just took over my body because I think around that time I just found out that I was pregnant. And I was like, because I hadn't told my agency. And I had this feeling of like, I hadn't even told my workplace either. I remember I was having dreams that I was going to lose my job and I was going to not be able to model. So I was panicking. Yeah. And I remember I was shaking. I was holding the phone and I just said no. And he was like, I remember my booker, he was like, no, did you say no? And I said, no, I can't do it. And he was like, why? And I was like, I just can't do it. I'm sorry. And then I got off the phone and then I remember calling my fiance, boyfriend at the time. And I told him about the shoot. And he was like, just do it. And I was like, but what if I go and my belly's going to be showing, like, what if my belly's showing and my belly's big and like, because they don't know that I'm pregnant and this, that, and then there's work don't know that I model. And if I tell them like, what's going to happen? He was like, just do it. Like, it's a big opportunity. So I called them right back. And he was like, sorry, like the opportunity is gone now because you said no, you turned it down
that quickly.
Listen, they don't have time to waste.
Oh my gosh.
They call it, so when you've got shoots, they call it options. So let's say they're considering 3 models for a particular like role in a shoot. Yeah. If, for example, because things can happen, maybe the model that you really want gets booked on another job that's like better pay, they kind of have to have somebody else
as backup.
Yeah, in their mind as like, okay, this person would be the backup if this person isn't available. So if you say no, or the agency says, oh, sorry, she's booked on something else now, they're like, great, no worries, we'll go with this person. Or maybe they go back to another agency. So gone.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But yeah, that's basically how my journey started. I think I then later told them, maybe a couple months later, I was like, by the way, I'm pregnant.
Surprise.
And they were just like, oh, okay, congratulations, I guess. Like, I guess they didn't really know how to respond, but they were really supportive. And I remember saying, so does this mean that I can't model anymore? And they were like, no, of course, like, we still love you. And like, there's going to be opportunities, no stress, like, it's all good. And I remember during that year, they were trying to put me forward for some maternity stuff, but I literally looked like a teenage mum. I looked like I was about 16. And it was not gonna work. Like, the face was like not matching the belly. So it just was not. Yeah. And then, so I didn't model that whole year. My son came in October of that year. Okay. And then 3 months later, I booked my first campaign.
Oh, well done.
And then, so yeah, my journey really started then the following year. Okay. That was, yeah.
Okay, that's so interesting.
Sorry, I talk a lot.
No, I love it. I love to hear a good story. It's, yeah. Okay, I have a much better understanding of how you got into it. Yeah. So initially, after that, when you first started modeling again, what kinds of shoots were you doing?
Definitely no lingerie, girl, because no lingerie, no swimwear, because
Okay.
for one, I wasn't 100% comfortable, and two, like, your body's changed and stuff. It didn't look the same.
Yeah.
There were like little things you might understand, like my belly and stuff, because they say the snapback after your first, especially if you have them young, is fast, and it was. You know what? God, amazing! Like, really came through for me. Like, amazing. My body snapped back, no issues. I think I was actually skinnier after I had him than I was before.
Okay.
Before I was pregnant with him, I was so skinny. Obviously, the agency loved it. Amazing. And I was just like, yeah, it's because I look like a twig. But yeah, it was more. I did a lot of beauty, and more like, I'd say, more editorial stuff, just because I was thinner. And obviously when you're thinner, they like the way it carries, like the fashion clients really like that for the look, and like magazine stuff. So I was doing a lot of magazine stuff, Net-a-Porter, Mag. I did a Vogue stint, actually. That was good. I never saw it though, but anyway. Sometimes this is what happens in the industry. You model and you don't see your stuff unless somebody shows you. Honestly, you might not end up seeing it. I did some stuff with my son as well when he was a baby. So yeah, it was like a mixture of beauty, editorial, a little bit of e-com as well. So I did New Look for a while, and some M&S that first like couple of years into it. Yeah, so it was a mixture, I'll say. Yeah.
So how did you find navigating being a model? At that time, were you full-time as well with it, or? No,
so I was even working. So I still had that job. Listen, if I pray that God blesses that boss that I had at my old job, I don't know if he'll even ever see this video, but God bless him, because but for him, I do not know how I would have gotten through that whole period. They were so understanding. I don't think I'll ever find another place or another person like that. I honestly, it was a godsend. God sent that man to me, and just because the way the setup was, like, he was such a blessing to me. So I was still working in that time. I was full-time, but I was modeling. Yeah. At first, they didn't really know that I was modeling, but then later on, I explained to them that I kind of wanted to leave. I wanted to focus more on modeling because there was more. I was getting more work with modeling, and obviously, modeling was paying well. So I was like, maybe I should just focus on this. But he just had so much grace. Gave me so much grace, and he was like, listen, don't go. Like, just let us know what works for you. We can reduce your hours. And if you've got shoots, if you tell me in advance, we can try and maneuver your working days so that on the days you're not shooting, you can work. Yeah. And then you have other days to shoot. So I was still working full time for a period. So I was working 5 days a week. And in between that, modeling. But they didn't know that. Okay.
Not at the time.
Not at the time. But once I told them, it was then went down to part-time. I think I was doing 3 or 4 days. The days like kind of gradually went down as modeling became busier. I think it started at 4 days, and then it went down to 3 days. And and then I ended up using like holidays as well to kind of.
So it was a very hectic time.
Oh, hectic is not even the word. It was hectic. It was stressful. It wasn't easy. There were many times I was like, why are you doing this? Like, it just, like, why are you stressing yourself? Like, why are you doing all of this? Make a choice, make a decision, you know? Just, like, this is hard.
But do you feel like doing both at that time was still quite necessary, or?
I think so, because I think it financially, it was important that I had something that was regular and that could support, like, my life and support my son and things like that. Yeah. But also where I could save and put money to things that I wanted to do in the future and things. And if I didn't do that, there's a lot of things that I probably wouldn't have been able to do. Okay. You know, because having a child comes with responsibilities. It does. And like, pay for stuff, nursery, like that nursery fee.
It's ridiculous. It's just
crazy.
And it's got worse. I'm so glad my 3 are all of school age.
You've got 3. Sorry, I did not know this. You look amazing. Wow.
Thank you. I have 3.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
mine are all old, so.
Yeah, but this is it. If you were to now have another add to the brood, that the cost of nursery is enough to just say, you know what?
maybe not.
Maybe not. Let's just not do this. Like, let's just not. But it was things like that that it was so good. It was so useful for. There was nursery, just so many things. Yeah.
Did you always document? Because I know you post quite a lot on your Instagram. Were you doing that from the beginning, or is that something that came in after a while?
I think it came in after a while because there was a period of, Snapchat. I haven't used that thing in years. I think I even deleted it. God knows how many years ago. But there was Snapchat, so I feel like I posted a lot on Snapchat. But obviously, that's more like friends and family. I feel like it was around 2018, maybe. Yeah, I think it was around 2018 I started posting more on Instagram. Okay. But I feel like even then it's very different to what it was like now. Because it kind of starts off as like a digital diary. Yeah. You're just kind of posting stuff.
You don't have to overthink.
You don't have to overthink it. Yeah, some of your pictures are very polished and like nice, but it really was just like I'm posting holiday pictures, or like the sun was really nice today, so I just posted a really nice picture of a nice outfit. It wasn't like I'm trying to get brand deals and I'm trying to do this and to do that. It's just like, it's just a nice picture, and I'm sharing it with like my friends and family. So yeah, no, I wasn't like super hyper visual online, and like it was, I'd say, more of a recent thing. 2018 onwards.
I mean, you say that, but I actually find your feed quite authentic in that you do still, well, I don't know how curated it is, of course, but you still have pictures where you're just on a street and you'll snap your face. And it's like, my skin is glowing, and not that many people do that anymore. So I think your authenticity still shows.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot. Yeah. Yeah. I think with Instagram it's difficult because you start off that way. And then once you move to the space of like brands want to work with you and do this and that, then there's this pressure on you to create. And it's like, I think especially during that COVID time, I definitely felt it was easy during COVID time because everyone's at home, everyone's doing nothing. So it was kind of easy to create content because you've got nothing else to do. You're just in your back garden or you're in the house or whatever.
And engagement was very high.
Engagement was super high because everybody's at home and no one's got anything to do but be online. Yeah. But I think, when you get to the space where clients are now wanting to work with you or book you, it even had a knock-on effect on the modelling industry. So now agencies and even clients, they look at your socials sometimes more than even your book. Oh, wow. So you might have these amazing pictures in your book, and that's amazing. And that's not to say they don't consider it, they do. But a lot of them go on your socials. They want to see what you're posting. They want to see how you look online, what your feed looks like, what your follow account is like, what your engagement is like. And that goes into making decisions. So things like that, especially since that time, because it's become a lot more social media focused, you do find that your feed then ends up becoming more curated, even if that's not what your intention is. You're now then thinking, I haven't posted in 2 weeks. I need to post. Whereas before, you should care about that stuff. You just posted when you posted, if you felt like posting. So I think it's changed a little bit.
From your face, I'm going to still ask, do you think that's a negative change towards how the industry values, I guess, your social media now?
I think it has its pros and cons. Everything has its pros and its cons. I think the difficulty with social media, and I think everyone probably shares the same sentiments when it comes to this, is just how it creates this system of everyone's like a consumer, like consumerism, like everyone is so hungry and like looking for stuff online. It's like, then you buy, everything is like a sales pitch. So it's like you open socials and you're being sold to. It's like, whether it's to buy this particular pair of jeans or something is in fashion or it's a certain hair, whatever it is, it just feels like, you're being constantly sold to or convinced of something. And past that aspect, there's also the dangers that come with it, because then it's not, people aren't just, posting about clothes and fashion and beauty and hair and makeup. A lot of those things can be relatively harmless, but then you've got the healthcare stuff. Some people tell you, don't eat this, you have to eat this, swallow this, don't swallow this. If you've got this, it's a parasite. If you've got this, it's this, you've got to do this. And it's like, there's there's a certain overconsumption now, I think, happening with social media, because that's where everyone gets their information from.
Yeah.
Nobody reads.
No.
Nobody reads. We watch a video on socials and we're like, okay, this is real. This is true because this person said it. Nobody goes back, and we have ChatGPT. Even if you don't want to do Google yourself, you even have ChatGPT. You can check this information if you don't want to pick up a book. ChatGPT can tell you, and nobody does that.
Yeah.
So I feel like, and it's not just Instagram, it's TikTok, it's all of these things.
I mean, TikTok is
danger.
A jungle.
I've had videos sent to me on TikTok and on Instagram, like health videos, like, take this for this and this and this. And I've been looking at it and I'm like, this is AI. I'm like, this what the person is saying isn't even matching the mouth.
Oh my gosh.
And I know that what this person is saying is not true. And then I've just Googled it just to back up what I know that I know. And I'm like, this isn't even true.
Wow.
But people are sending it because they're reading it thinking it's true.
Yeah.
And
thinking they're spreading awareness. But they're spreading misinformation.
And this is another big issue that I found with social media. But back to modelling.
Just bringing it back.
Bringing it back, because that was what you asked in terms of like the effect on
the modelling industry.
Yeah. I think, pros and cons. I think it's good in the sense that it allows clients to see a side of you that they won't get from your book. Yeah. Because obviously your book with your agency is very curated, because your agency picks the pictures they're going to use and the order that it goes in, because they have an understanding of what clients are looking for. The clients don't get your personality and who you are and what you stand for from your book. Okay. But if they go on your socials, they get like a different side of you. They're like, okay, so this person is quite funny or whatever. These are their interests. This is what they stand for. And that can help them make decisions about who they then pick for campaigns, especially if their campaigns are not just centered around looks and how close.
I guess it can broaden opportunities.
It can broaden the opportunities. So that is a big positive, I think. But the negative then is if you're someone who's not like super active on socials or super, you don't share a lot about yourself on socials, that can have, it can be a bit of a negative, it can have a negative effect for you. It's not your fault, because you don't have to post on socials if you don't want to. But if clients are now going there to find out more about you, look at your pictures, look at your following, and you don't have a super high following, you don't have loads of pictures on there, that can also play into the decision why they then don't book you for a job. So that's also,
I think that's a really interesting point about the following count, because if they like your look and your look suits what they're after, I would have thought in the world of modelling, that's what matters. But then that just indicates that this clout thing has really affected everything, because you could have, so if you've got two models, both beautiful, one slightly more leaning towards what you actually want for your shoot, but the other person has a bigger following, you're going to go with the person with the bigger following?
I think there's balance to it. So I think in some cases that can be true. And I think it depends on the brand, because this is also a whole other thing. I think with fashion clients, the ones that are more higher fashion, I don't think they maybe care as much in terms of like follow account specifically. It's more about like how your feed actually presents, how it reads, the kind of content you post, how you pose, things like that. That gives them a better insight into maybe how you might work with them on set and how you look and if you'll fit their overall vibe. But yeah, it does I think affect it to some degree. I was going to say something else, but it's completely like my mind's gone blank. It kind of left my head.
Okay. Well, we can come back if you remember. But I did have a question. I know you've spoken about this before online, but I'm going to ask: have you faced discrimination in the industry? Whether that be, just in general, whatever that could be down to.
Discrimination. So one thing I will say is I haven't experienced it in the traditional sense, in that I've had anyone be kind of openly discriminatory to me on set. I've definitely had some interesting experiences, and there's one that I will touch on that I remember so vividly. But
It's your whole expression just changed. You're like, I need to get this off my chest.
it was just such a peculiar experience.
Okay.
Because I was just like, why are you saying this stuff to me? And I remember it was an e-com shoot.
Mm-hmm.
And this was some years ago, actually, though. This didn't happen whilst it wasn't with a job that I was booked on under my current agency.
Okay.
But yeah, this was some time ago. But I remember so specifically coming in, and it was my first time ever shooting with this client, and the makeup artist, it was like an older white lady.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you come to set, it's early when you come on set, not everyone is always like super chirpy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think I'm super chirpy, like you just come in, but good morning, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Her good morning was a bit dry, but honestly, I don't read anything into that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is what it is. Some people start off, you kind of need to warm up to them.
Yeah.
But what really stood out to me were just the comments she made while she was like doing my hair and makeup.
Okay.
So she was like I remember so vividly, she was doing my mascara, and I get it all the time. The people do my mascara and they're like, oh my gosh, you've got such lovely eyelashes. They're so long and they're so this. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
But she didn't stop there. She was like, oh, you've got quite a lot of lashes. And she's like, oh, because usually black girls don't really have long lashes.
Do you know why I'm particularly offended? Because I have no lashes. I'm so my heart just sank because my lashes are non-existent and they curl into themselves. So okay.
I was like, okay then. Like, one of those things, like, I feel like she meant it to be a compliment.
But it's like,
but it didn't feel like
especially when you don't know me.
No, I was just like, okay then. Okay. So I just remember kind of sitting there silently. I didn't really say much because I was just like, oh, but in my head I was just like, oh, well, she didn't mean any harm by it. And I still don't think she meant any harm by it. I think people say things and they just don't realize how it's received as well, and how they say things. But anyway, that was the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And then she was, because I usually like model with my afro out depending on what the client wants. So I'm like, I've got my afro comb and I'm like pulling it out and stuff. And I think the night before, usually before a shoot, I'll put my hair in twists.
Okay.
So that when I go there, it's like stretched out. Exactly. So I'm like picking it out now and she's helping me do the back a little bit. And I'm just like, oh, if you get it from the root, and I'm like, don't worry, you're not hurting me. Because I find hairstylists who aren't used to dealing with afro hair, they don't want to like hurt you. They don't want to spoil your hair. So they're always really like extra gentle.
Yeah.
So I always have to say to them, it's fine. Just get it at the root.
Get in
and
there.
Just shake it a bit. You don't need to pull it. Just shake it and it will help it, spread the hair out a bit. So I was explaining that to her. And she was just like, oh, she was like, you've got quite a lot of hair. She was like, black girls don't usually have much hair, do they? Another black girls don't. I was like,
don't have much hair.
She was literally, and I remember it like it was yesterday because I remember just thinking, huh? And I was just like, no, I was like, black girls grow hair. It just grows differently. That's all. But we grow hair. And I remember saying to her, because our hair is curlier, even if we've got a lot of length, you're not going to see it in the same way as if it was straight.
Yeah.
And she was just like, oh, okay. Like, but it was like, just that one. And you know what? I should even be grateful because in the sense that that's one that sticks out to me because it means clearly I haven't had that experience often. And I'm grateful for that. But that one really stuck out to me because I was just like, damn, like people really out here confused. Like, because that stuff is just not, it was very, backward thinking.
Black girls.
Yeah, black girls don't really grow lashes that long. And black girls don't really have much hair. And I'm just confused. I don't know if maybe because the black models she's used to working with either have like a shortcut or they have like their hair shaved. Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Or they have their hair shaved. So maybe she was just used to seeing black girls that have shorter hair or whatever. But it was very unusual, peculiar statements to make to a black girl.
Yeah.
And not think that I would find it offensive.
And you know what's interesting? I was at an event a couple of weeks ago and it was literally about the industry, specifically black people, their experiences in the film and TV industry. And a lot of the comments from talent was that they've had a lot of negative experiences from makeup artists, hairstylists on set. So what that tells me is, A, a lot of black people, black women specifically, maybe opt for wigs, weaves, etc., which would give you the illusion that they don't have hair as a way to deal with the negativity that they faced in the chair. And B, there really is work to do for education.
There is work
in these industries.
100%. I think the first point about, you know, wearing wigs, I don't know, with the TV industry, like TV and film, I can't even imagine what that's like, because I think, though similar to the modeling industry, I can imagine it might be very different. I don't know what the experiences are like. And similarly, I've also heard like some people have really, especially black women, have really poor experiences with hair and makeup artists on set. So yeah, that one, my heart goes out to them, because I've never done TV and film, but I can imagine, and some of the stories I've heard, I can imagine. But I do think the conversation about wigs and black women, gosh, that in itself is a whole other topic, an area of discussion within the community and within the wider community, because I think there's just so much there, and I feel like it's such a sensitive topic. It's
very sensitive
for black women.
It's very layered as well.
Multi-layered. Like there's so much there, and at the root of it, I think, is a lot of pain, and we have to really look at and talk about like our identity as black women and how we feel in our most natural form. But that one is it's a touchy subject for black women, especially like I even try, I'm very even careful about it, because I'm a girl who's always worn, I used to wear wigs like in uni and stuff, but even then, my first time wearing a wig, I was in uni, so I was kind of late to the party. And I left the party quick too. So I've always been like a natural hair girly and stuff. So even as a black woman that wears natural hair, it's quite difficult for me to have a conversation with black women about wig wearing and stuff like that, because I'm also I have to also be understanding to the struggles that they've also faced as women that wear wigs often and stuff. It's a touchy subject, but there's a lot there.
I think it's just, we need more, it's freedom of choice. I love when it's choice. I love when I like to have a 20-inch bust down or 30-inch these days. Clearly, I'm an old school millennial.
30-inch bust down. I know. Still
in. But I love the freedom of choice. Look, our hair is a way of expressing ourselves. So I love that. I just really despise when it's like, so to do this, I'm not really feeling the way your hair looks right now. So can you rather wear?
Ooh.
That's when I have an issue with it, personally. So what made you decide that? Was it just because of the fact that you enjoy wearing your natural hair that you chose to be in the modeling industry as someone that wears a natural hair primarily? Or was it a conscious decision that you made when you first started?
So it's a weird one, because I've always had my natural hair. And I'll get into that in a second. But when I first was approached by that modeling agency, I had my natural hair.
Okay.
And I remember when I went to go and see them, I don't remember how I styled my hair when I went to go and see them, but I think I must have styled it somehow. And I remember going to see them, and they were like, "Oh, can you just take the hairband out and whatever I'd styled it with?" And like, "We just want to see your hair like as it is. Like, don't do anything, just leave it." And I was like, "Okay, cool." So I did that. They took some pictures of it just out like normal, and then they asked me to just tie it back. They were like, "Don't style it, don't do anything. Here's your hairband, just pull it back."
Okay.
And then I tied it back, and I remember thinking, that doesn't look good. But that's what they wanted. They took a picture and they were like, "We love it. We love you. Like, we love this, like your look and whatever." And it's weird, because the industry has changed a little bit. And I think because we look at people like Naomi Campbell, and she's modeled like almost exclusively with her bust downs and the wigs and stuff. But when I was getting into the industry, it was very much natural hair. There was definitely a season of like natural hair, afros, or just tied back or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a bit of a misconception with agencies and thinking that they want this like really done up, perfect look.
Mm-hmm.
No, a lot of the time, what sells you is how you look in your natural form. So generally speaking, when you get put forward for work, it's not necessarily your book that goes to a client. They get your digitals, and your digitals are usually no makeup, hair with nothing, no styling, nothing. So your hair is either down, your hair is tied back. So they just want to see you in your natural form, because they're like, okay, we can do this, this, and this with her. And then they look at your book to see how this natural look is transformed into different looks and how you shoot.
Yeah.
So at the time, I wasn't really fussed about like, does my hair need to be natural or do I need to wear wigs? But getting into like why I've always kind of had natural hair.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up, we were never allowed to have relaxer.
Okay.
We weren't allowed any texturizer.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't even allowed extensions. So we never had braids, never had anything, nothing.
That's interesting.
None of that. Like my mum was a militant. My mum, God bless her, that woman is an incredible woman.
Mm-hmm.
But she was militant growing up. Like there were certain things that were just not going down.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember her saying to us, because she used to perm people's hair for them. She used to relax their hair. She even used to perm her own hair, like back in the day. And she said she just saw how bad it was for the hair. So the people would come back and do the hair, and she was just seeing the way the hair was like the hair was thin, it was lifeless, and even on her own, because she used to perm her own hair. And then eventually, and I think she looked into it, and she was like, the stuff in it was really bad. Today, I'm not 100% sure. I know things have come out about, it's causing certain types of cancer in black women, whatever. Yeah. I don't know. Please don't hold me to it. I'm not
Disclaimer.
I'm not saying that's what it does, but that's what y'all say it does. So she decided with us, all her kids, none of you are going to have relaxer. None of you are going to have texturizer.
Okay.
So we were kind of forced from young to love our hair. So our mum would style it, she'd braid it, she'd do all sorts to it. So we were just that was just our normal. It was just normal for us to have our natural hair. We never had braids, and we got picked on for it. I got bullied, seriously.
Oh, no.
Seriously, I got bullied for it, for having natural hair.
Oh, really?
I feel like it's only in the last 15... How old am I now?
Probably
30.
10.
Yeah.
10 years.
Maybe 10 years, yeah. In the last 10 years, it's actually become cool to have like nice, healthy, natural hair.
Yeah.
Back
That's
then,
like,
it wasn't cool.
my eldest is 12, almost 13. I big chopped her hair. So she started secondary school. She asked for a relaxer. I gave her all the information. I explained why I don't have a relaxer. I said, is this your decision? She said, yes. I said, okay, we'll see how you get on first year of secondary school. So she had one virgin relaxer, one touch up, and she said, no, I want my natural hair back.
Bless her.
I said, excellent. I'm so glad you've learnt this lesson early. It's fine. So we big chopped her, and I was very intentional about making her wear her big chop. So I forced her to go to school. She would have like a little mini fro hawk with the clip. And in the beginning, she was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm going to school like this. And then she'll come home and say, oh, my friend said they like my hair.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, my friend said my hair looked cute today. Oh, my friend said they want to big chop their hair. And it's grown so much. Now she's rocking her puff. She's like, oh, someone wore a puff. They're wearing my hairstyle. Yes. And she's like, every day she comes home, oh yeah, my friend said my hair looks so much longer now. So I've let her go through that journey. And it's something that I didn't do until I did my first big chop when I was about late 20s. And I had to go through that journey. And I'm so glad I did. I've done 3 big chops. I'm currently growing out my 3rd.
I think I'm about to do a big chop myself.
But it was just learning that lesson so late and learning to love my natural hair so late. I didn't want that for her.
Yeah.
My youngest, I doubt she would want to relax her hair. Her hair's very soft. She loves her hair already. She's like, oh, my hair's so long and I've got the longest hair in the family. So I think her journey will be a bit different, but I'm just so glad seeing the change in my eldest. So I think that is such a good thing that your mum did.
Yeah,
instilling that into you. Yeah.
And at the time it didn't feel like it. And I have a really funny story with that as well, because growing up, we weren't allowed to have relaxers, nothing. We were picked on for it, fine. But it was our hair, so there was no other alternative. Like, when you're older and you don't like something, you can maybe change it. But there was no alternative then. It's just like, well, whether you like it or not, the hair is the hair. You're going to wear it as it is. But I actually enjoyed getting my hair done. My sisters didn't. Their hair is a bit, I'd say my hair's always been a bit softer than theirs. Theirs is a bit more coarse.
Okay.
So they struggled. And they were, I also say I think they were tender-headed. I'm not as tender-headed. They were a bit tender-headed. So they would cry and cry and cry. They hated getting their hair done. I loved it. And then I remember we were it must have been, my mum actually did something similar to what you did with your eldest. She did that with my sister. She's the one that's directly under me. So she's like 13 months younger than me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like quite close.
Very close. So she's 13 months younger than me. And with her, I think we must have been going into college. No. It was secondary school.
Okay.
It was definitely secondary school because I remember her saying she wanted to texturize her hair. She was like, I don't want to relax it, but I want to texturize it. And my mum did the same thing that you did. She was just like, she explained, I don't do it. I used to do it, and this is why I stopped doing it.
Yeah.
And this is why I've never done it for you guys. But if you want to do it, then by all means. And my sister said, yeah, she wants to do it. So my mum bought her the texturizer. That texturizer was never opened.
Oh, really?
She ended up never using it.
Oh, wow.
She ended up never. And I remember we were like, oh, you're not going to do it? And she was just like, I don't think so. I think she looked into it a bit and she was just like, do you know what? No, I'm not going to do it. I think that texturizer is still sitting on the windowsill at my parents' house till today.
As a reminder.
Till today. And my mum said she was not going to get rid of it. She was like, let it sit there, like, so you can look at it. But one funny story, because, so yeah, we were never allowed relaxers, even straighteners, so no heat. The only heat we had was blow drying. And I remember being in secondary school, and we went to, it must have been Peckham, somewhere in Peckham, as like typical like Saturday, gone to buy meat and stuff with my mum, and she was looking for a straightener, hair straighteners, and I think it was also my sister that had asked for straighteners at the time, but I didn't realise it until later on. So my mum's like walking around, and she's going into the shops, and she's saying, "Oh, do you have straighteners? Like, which one is a good one?" I remember thinking, why is someone looking for straighteners? So I asked her, I was just like, oh, why are we getting straighteners? And she was like, oh, it's to do you guys' hair. And I remember as she was walking, my heart dropped.
Oh, really?
My heart dropped into my gut. And I remember like trying to hold back tears and actively thinking in my head, I was like, does she not love us anymore? Like, why is she going to straighten our hair? Like,
she hates us now.
She doesn't love us anymore because before we weren't allowed to do this. And now she wants to straighten our hair because she doesn't love us anymore and she can't be bothered with us. Genuinely, this was a thought process I had, and I was like fighting back tears. I remember walking down Peckham, that road, where the market where you've got all the shops, and actively having this thought process that Mum doesn't love us anymore because she wants to do our hair, and she's never allowed us to do it because it's not good for our hair. So it's a story that really sticks with me because I'm just like, rah.
It wasn't that deep.
It wasn't that deep. But she'd done such a good job of instilling like that love of our hair in its natural form and acceptance that anything that was outside of that just felt like not real, not love, not us. Yeah. You know? But yeah.
And that shows because there are not, I don't even think I could count on one hand the amount of people I can scroll on a feed and see them rocking a natural afro.
Yeah,
so
it's true.
That's a testament to your mum's efforts.
She did good. Don't get me wrong though. I had my stint with straighteners.
I mean, that's fine.
I mean, like I fried. When I tell you I fried this, I used to fry this hair when I was in final stages of secondary school and college. The frying.
Yeah, we all did that.
I used to fry. It's like you enter the room, you think I had a cooker in the room. I'm frying chips and whatever. I used to fry the heck out of my hair until I just had to chop it. I was like, I need to, because the hair was not curling, it was just straight at that point. Yeah. But yeah, you're right. I think we all had our stint with that.
We did. I think most of us can attest to that stage of life.
Yeah.
No, this has been so good. I feel like we've got so much more that we could touch on, but I'm going to change gears slightly.
Oh, okay.
Slightly. What does self-care mean to you?
Ooh. I think for me, self-care is just making time for yourself. Because I think as I've gotten older, especially with a child, you just end up not having time for yourself. Yeah. And if I feel that way, I can't imagine how it would be for you and others who have more than one. I've only got one. And sometimes managing that time, you've got to keep your child entertained. You've got to do their work with them, their homework. You've got to cook, you're cleaning, you're working. Like, there's so much like going on. You're trying to keep a household, and like there's so much just happening in life. You never have time for yourself. And to me, that self-care is literally just making time for yourself, having a moment to just be, to just exist and just feel peaceful, just to have peace. Yeah. I feel like peace is like a commodity now, like time and peace. So for me, yeah, I think self-care, do you want me to go into specifics or?
Oh, feel free. Yeah, sure.
Oh, I have to think about that. Yeah, I mean, for me, when I'm in that mode of like making time for myself, it's definitely like reading.
Okay.
Reading or
fiction
piano.
or non-fiction?
I like both.
Okay.
Yeah, I like both. But I'd say maybe more of late, it's been more non-fiction.
Okay.
But I like a good balance of both. I need to kind of switch between. So if I read fiction, then it needs to be non-fiction next, and then fiction, you know. But reading, and then play my piano. Because honestly, I never get time to do that. So if I have time to do that, to me, that's like, oh, this is like the height of self-care.
Oh,
you know,
wow.
Just being in my modes, making my music. And
do you make your own music?
I do. So
really?
I used to write my own compositions from like secondary school. So I'd say from between year 7 and onwards. I did music GCSE, so I composed for that as well.
So when will we be hearing?
Well, you know what? We were saying this actually before we started this. I'm trying to record some of my pieces. Yeah. And put them out just for fun. But
you never know.
You never know. I mean, I have dreams, right? I don't know. I have dreams for them. But I don't know. So, but yeah, I would like to record them, put them out, maybe get like other instrumentalists to kind of like add little bits to it and like, you know, flesh it out more. Yeah. But yeah, self-care is like my music, art and gym. Yeah, gym. I got to train. Okay. Yeah.
How many days a week?
I'd like to say like 4 days a week, but I don't do 4 days a week. Okay. It's usually more like 3, 2 to 3.
That's still...
I used to be a real gym girly. Okay. So 2 is really poor for me. But if I can do 2 to 3, I'm good. I'm smiling.
What made you go from being hardcore in the gym to reducing? Is it just time?
Time.
Yeah.
Just time, because before I had my son, I was constantly in the gym. Okay. I had a gym buddy that I used to go with. Yeah. Shout out Cynthia. She showed me like so many exercises, and we'd do like, I used to love it. This was back when I was in South London. So I'd walk to the gym, pure gym, and we would just like go ham at all hours of the night.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, we loved it. But yeah, it's just time. Time now.
Okay. So imagine you've had a really stressful day. A shoot has, I'm not going to say it didn't go well, but it was very, very intense, challenging. You've got home. What are you doing to relax?
Gosh. Eating. Like, I'm just trying to think of the first thing. Okay, the first thing I do when I come back from a shoot, I usually eat. That in itself is relaxing for me because I love food.
Same, yeah.
And there's something so peaceful in how mundane it is, just sitting there eating food and not thinking about anything but the food that you're eating. So, yeah, that's my first
What
step.
are you eating?
Whatever's available, honestly. Unless I'm craving something specific, whatever's available, whether that's jollof rice and chicken. Those are usually available like quite quickly. So jollof rice, chicken, some veg. I think that's a household staple. Okay. At this point. And probably just either playing a game.
Oh, okay. What are we playing?
Oh, me and my fiance, we're really addicted to this Cooking Fever. This is not an ad for Cooking Fever.
Disclaimer.
Disclaimer. Or it's Cooking Madness, something like that. Okay. Or watching a show.
Okay, what are you watching?
Like, we've been watching The Mole. We actually just finished it the other day. The Mole. It's on Netflix.
Yeah.
It's
I've
really
not
good.
watched it, but I've seen it.
So good. It's a game show. It's so good.
Okay.
We ruined the first season because we couldn't wait. We Googled who won the first season before we started watching it. So we knew who won it. So we were watching it like, oh yeah. And then for the second one, we were like, okay, let's make sure we don't Google who won so we can actually enjoy it. But recently it's been The Mole. So watching a show, having some food, just kind of hanging out. Chilling. And another thing I've gotten into is jigsaws.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I really want to complete. I haven't completed one yet because, again, time. But I've started out with a 500-piece jigsaw.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I've been trying to do that with my son. So as long as I get back on time before his bedtime, I'll be like, okay, let's do the jigsaw. So he gets like a couple pieces, and we've been trying to piece it together.
That's so
we have
lovely.
started it. We just haven't finished it.
Yeah.
So
that's so sweet.
It's fun.
That's a cute bonding. He will remember that growing up as well.
I hope so, because he doesn't remember any of the holidays. So he needs to start remembering some things.
Oh no, I love it. Thank you so much. This has been such a good conversation. Like I said before, there's so much else we could have touched on.
Yeah.
We'll have to do a part 2.
We have to, because this has been fun. I've really enjoyed it.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Yeah.
Before you go, is there anything you want to leave with the audience? Some kind of mantra for life, I like to say, that you like to live by?
I almost, you know what settled on my heart just then? And I hope I get this right because I'm still learning.
Okay.
I think it's Matthew 6:33. Seek ye first his kingdom and all these things shall be added onto you.
Amen.
That's my mantra right now. Because, and I think I mentioned this at the beginning about how I feel like, especially since last year, this shift has occurred. I don't know if it's because I turned 30. I don't know what it is. But I think even when things are difficult, even when things are good, man, we need to seek the kingdom. We need to seek God first. Seek God in all things. And honestly, anything that's like a struggle, whether it's your career or relationships or just like life in general, there's an answer for everything, especially in the word. If you go back to the word, there's a verse for everything that's happening in your life right now. And that's the only way God speaks to you. That's the only way you learn to hear his voice, when you soak yourself in his word and you're used to reading. Then you know when it's God talking to you. You can't have anyone, give you any wrong information
at all,
or be confused or be misled, because you always know when it's God speaking to you.
Yeah.
So that's my mantra, and I think that's the message that I would leave. Just seek the kingdom, seek God, and honestly, the peace, everything that you're looking for will be given to you with ease. Seek him first. Yeah.
Amen. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I love it so much. Thank you so much for coming on. Yeah, we'll have you back.
Oh, I can't wait.
So before we go, can you please let everyone know where they can find you online?
So my Instagram is Tosin. Should I do the phonetic, the alphabet? You do it on the phone.
Oh,
Tango, Oscar, Sierra.
You're the first person to ever say that. It's fine. We'll link it below.
Oh, okay. My bad. You can find me on Instagram. I'm trying to be on TikTok, but I'm also really trying not to be on socials as well.
Okay.
It's a lot. But right now, you can find me on Instagram. You're gonna link it below or something. Whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode with Tosin. If you did, be sure to like it. And also comment below any key takeaways that resonated with you. We'd love to continue the conversation there. As always, if you haven't already subscribed, be sure to subscribe to keep up with the episodes. We'll be back on Sunday with another episode, so stay tuned. Other than that, take care, stay blessed, and enjoy the rest of your day. Take care. Bye.
Bye.